Join me in welcoming my good friend Willie J. Hey Willie, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, my brother. How are you, Steve? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
so good. How are things going for you? Today is the day that the single that we've been talking a little bit about, well, you and I have been talking a lot about it, um, called Thinking. But for anybody that, like they've been living under a rock, they don't know who you are. First off, tell us just a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Oh man, thanks. Before we go into that, my brother, thanks for having me on today. This is definitely each moment, each day. I look at time as opportunity, and we're finally here. We had a little turbulence, uh, digital turbulence with the distributors, but they got it together, and I just believe that God's timing and alignment is always perfection. So, we're just excited first and foremost. I'm a 13-time number one global best-selling author, and soon to be three-time number one Amazon best-selling pop charting artists. And we're so elated today to be able to say, finally, that, hey, Thinking is here. The new record, Thinking, is here. A song that I wrote and recorded out in LA a few months back. And, my brother Marcus from Commission, he's a legend. We got a legend. We're featuring a legend. I don't even know where to start. Time and Seasons. He's part of the four-time Grammy nominated gospel group Commission. And he recently wrote a number one Billboard hit with FK&M. That's Fred Hammond, Keith Stanton, and Marcus Cole himself. And they had a Billboard hit that he wrote called "Change Your Mind." So when he essentially, I told him, we talked a little bit, for a good minute about the possible collaboration. And finally, when I was out in LA, I called him, I hit him, I said, "Hey, I got one to start for us, brother. It's called Thank You." Essentially, it's my love song, man. So this is the third single release since October. We started off with "Couldn't Imagine," a breast cancer dedication that went number one. Thank God. God is paramount. And "Without You," we released last month, actually Christmas week. In about 3 days, right, Steve? It was already number one, man. And on pop charts again, the beat out artists like Taylor Swift and man, this has been a crazy ride, man. I'm just grateful, grateful. And this record is got those roots in it, man. I don't want to, hinder it for the listener, but you'll know right from the start what we're doing. And he loved the record, and I loved it, and he smashed this feature, man. You're talking about vocal mentorship, like your vocalist, your favorite artist, and your favorite vocalist is a Marcus Cole. That's for sure. And I'm not the only one that says this in the industry. So, bad boy. So, the message, more importantly, is about thinking. It's vertical, that same process, the same formula that we've been using with all our records, right? And that is this first is something I'm saying to God, in my private. No pen necessary, just from the heart. And speaking of "Without You," though, going backwards, we got the merch here representing child trafficking. I believe we dedicated it to child and human trafficking. Great cause, Pure Mission Entertainment. Shouts out to all of our PME Dream team, and we're grateful to have you a part of that team, Steve. So we're here, man, celebrating Thinking today. The new release is live today. Finally, sorry for the wait. I know a lot of you guys were really waiting, but anticipation makes the heart go fonder, right, Steve? These things
Oh yeah,
happen. So, yeah.
absolutely.
That's it, man. Power of people
Yeah.
changing lives. Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know commissioned, by the way, what rock have you been living under? But that's a whole different story. um, a lot of people know of commissioned that don't even know that they know it. And the reason why I
Yeah.
say that is because a lot of people saw the Sister Act movies, and in Sister Act 2, that finale they did. For the people that remember that, they did the whole finale, and they riffed off of a whole bunch of styles. One of
Yeah,
the styles they use in it is the four guys are standing on the risers, and they
yeah,
do that four guy quartet thing, which is
yeah.
totally, I mean, like, they either had commissioned write that little piece for them, or they totally stole it from them and they owe them money. Either way, but yeah, that's really cool. And Mark
Yeah,
has been around
yeah,
for a couple, hot minute,
yeah,
doing some
yeah.
really cool stuff.
22, yeah, 22 years, I think, with the group. And man, put out some epic material. Now, ironically, Commission influenced a lot of secular R&B and one pop group by the name of Boys to Men. And man, I don't want to go through the list. Platinum and multi-platinum artists on the secular side of things. And what we're doing is kingdom love music. It's like kingdom R&B, kingdom pop, you know, love songs. So directly to God. But yeah, they are a driving force. They influenced a lot of groups in the 80s, 90s, and early 200s, like on that side. Yeah. I
Oh
grew up
yeah.
listening to these guys, man. This is like a dream, dream come true to me. Like to work
Mm.
with someone that I've been listening to since I was, yay high. Not that I'm so much older now.
I was working. I was working at WFLT radio. This would
Mhm.
have been, oh gosh, Amber was born, and Amber's in her late 30s now. We won't talk about people's ages, especially not your daughters, because they get mad at you when you talk about how old
Yeah.
they are.
Oh
But
man,
yeah,
my daughter is 20. She just turned 20
yeah,
yesterday. Wait,
oh
almost
yeah,
26. I'm sorry. 2 days ago. They
yeah,
rest in peace, Kobe and Jeezy. Yeah.
yeah,
20-year-old daughter,
absolutely.
man.
I
So
remember
guess
that.
how old I am.
I remember when Commission dropped. You know,
Yeah.
in fact, I think that was their first album, like 86, 87, right in that.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Amber was born in 88, so let's call it 88. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
cool stuff. So talk
Yeah,
about a
man.
full circle moment,
Yeah.
you started talking about Marcus Cole. I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah,
But
man. Good brother, man. Good dude too. You
yeah.
know, the
So
gift
talk
is
to us.
one thing,
Yeah.
but the character is something else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good guy. Talk
Yeah.
to us about, specifically speaking, what inspired thinking. I know they all come kind of out of your praise and worship with God, but what was kind of going through your head? What were you thinking when you, and thinking?
That's a great play on words, my friend. A good friend. Yeah, man. Well, what I was thinking while writing thinking with no ink, right? Without ink, um, I was essentially taken back to those moments, right, where you just can't stop thinking. It's this encounter with love, right? And in this case, it would be agape, right? AGAPE. And to me, we can't love properly without, you know, that love, being drawn from the will of God's love, because his love is perfect. It casts out all fears. But thinking was about this moment where you have, when I think about your love, it makes me feel some type of way when I think about your love. I want it each and every day. So, and the only you got to know first and foremost, I have to be talking about God, because there's no one thinking about anyone like 24/7, even our significant lover or wife or lady, right? But first and foremost, it was just these moments, these a compilation of moments, right? Where I begin to reminisce about my first encounter with God, which was really outside of the four walls, right? And growing up in the four walls, in the church, and I'm grateful for my upbringing. But I kind of went back to that space back in 96, right? And this was a tipping point, a turning point where I believe June, the month of June, around about June 26th, around about that time. And my birthday's on the 13th. So before I could turn 18, I was 17. I had just been drug poisoned or whatever, living a certain life, threw my guns away, threw the drugs away, and suddenly, I told my mom, told my dad, I said, hey, I want to be saved, and when I say that, I really wanted to be saved from a certain way of life, not the religious showmanship terminology of it all, not to sound churchy, but this intimate encounter that I had with God and the Holy Spirit, man, it's something that I never stopped thinking about. It's always there. And and it's 2025. This was in 96. And so I got this epiphany when writing this record. Out of it's all those euphoric, blissful moments of love. And horizontally, if we want to come down a little bit back to earth, it's those moments where you could be thinking about, the love of your life, where it's just like, wow, when I think about you, I feel some type of way. They say butterflies. Well, first, the real butterflies come from God first. And so it's this vertical, horizontal thing going on, and it's just saying like, wow, when I just the thought of this encounter, the thought of this euphoric, inexplicable experience, supernatural, natural experience where when I think about you, I feel some type of way, and now you get this epiphany. It's like, and because of that, in the second verse, I think I wrote that, not another second, another minute, I need you right now, uh, right this very minute, and I can't get you off of my mind. Think about you all of the time, right? It's that real intimate love encounter, God encounter, love encounter, vertically and horizontally put it, you know, to condense everything. So in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Absolutely. So I think it's so cool that you're wearing the Without You hoodie. Um,
Available soon.
yeah,
Coming
yeah. Oh
soon. Yeah.
man, gotta get me.
Yeah.
There's about four hoodies I'm back now on, and
Yeah.
have to re-update my whole hoodie collection. But that's a whole different
Yeah,
story.
man. It's a
But
hoodie land now. It's a
oh
hoodie
yeah,
game.
oh yeah. Well,
Kids
especially with
and
as cold as it is, I mean, this
yeah.
is one of the very few days that I cranked up the heat in my room and put on a collared shirt to do the interview with you versus being in a hoodie,
Yeah.
wishing that the hood was up. It's just been that kind of cold lately, guys. uh, but
Yeah, man.
without taking away at all from the new song, I was thinking last night, and I've said this, you and I have had this conversation, but I wanted to say it while we were talking today because one of the things I love about all three of the songs, but Without You, as far as the trigger that it does for me in a good way, is is that whole concept of, and I encourage people to do this same thing. Um, there are so many songs that are designed to be that horizontal, that lady that you're in love with, or the right now lady. Let's face it, a lot of love songs aren't quite as deep as they maybe should be. But madly, massively in love with this person who we know 20 years
Yeah.
later they had horrible, nasty divorces, right? But really some great music came out of that kind of stuff. um,
Yeah.
and what I encourage people to do is take a look at the lyrics from your favorite love song, whatever that might be. Whether you want to look at some of the great stuff Lionel Richie wrote, or and this is why I'm bringing all this. It does come together actually. Or take the song Without You, YOW. This is the letter U that
Yeah.
Motley Crue did back in the early '90s. We'll call it. Somebody can look it up for me if they want to. Are you familiar with the song Without You
Yeah, of
by
course.
Motley Crue?
Yeah.
I figured you were. It's like, okay, now take that song. All right, pull the lyrics up. I mean, you can get lyrics on the internet really easy, really quick these days. and
Yeah.
whatever that song might be. It doesn't
Pushing
have
the
to be that
button.
particular one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
bring up the lyrics, okay? And then, and I'm talking about a song that you already know. The song even if you're not a vocalist and you sing in the shower, that's okay. Do it in the privacy of your own room, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, bring
Yeah.
up the lyrics. But every time that it says baby or honey or the Motley Crue song actually has the word woman in it a couple of places. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
replace that with God, Jesus, Lord, those
Yeah.
kind of things. And
Yeah.
so keep the entirety of the whole entire song, except for just those couple of little places.
Yep.
Um, and it is amazing how that totally horizontal song can flip and go and can
Yeah.
take you to a whole, just a whole different place. I was actually literally singing, like you said, it was actually that Motley Crue one last night with those remodeled lyrics. I kind of discovered that one by accident one day driving down the road, singing an old 38 Special song,
Yeah.
So Caught Up in You.
Ah,
And it was just
okay.
like, and, just changing that couple of words in there. And all of a sudden, it has a totally different meaning. Um,
Yeah.
and I think more than anything, although I was talking about Without You, I think more than anything, I think Thinking really embodies the feeling of that, maybe even more than the other two did. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Yep. It does. Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, it really does. It encapsulates and it embodies that whole concept that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah, man. It's that formula that you just explained
Mhm.
and yeah, Thinking definitely, all of the records are like that. Couldn't imagine without you. And by the way, thanks again. I was on a podcast interview last night and it's a week of interviews and stuff. So and I want to express my gratitude for all of you guys' support for the records. Records don't sell themselves, so we appreciate you, taking the time to go buy that,
Mhm.
stream it, and buy it. So we appreciate that. But yeah, Thinking it definitely, I think it amplifies that whole formula of vertical
Yeah,
and horizontal. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So let's. I'd like to take you a little different route. This totally just came to me, so go with me on this.
okay,
The real way to embrace love, especially God's love, but love in general,
yeah,
often comes on heartbreak. We think we're in love and we discover just how unreal that is.
yeah.
Can you tell us an example in your life of how you came to the realization of what the difference between that, what we think is love, and really feeling and knowing and understanding what really love is?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me just take my pick from real life, real time episodes, if you will.
Mm,
So, um, but I'll say I've had a lot of those moments, but man, I think it's that real revelation of experiencing God's love that we become aware of all the other love that's surrounding us. And I just think for me personally, what I'm still in awe about right now, even as we speak, is the concept that love is freely given and that God loved me and loves me unconditionally.
mm,
Whether I fell forward or win or at times back in in the past where I didn't fell forward, I fell backwards.
mm,
You know what I
mm,
mean? So I think it's in those moments, bro, when even when you're grieving loved ones and uh, just various experiences with God and just knowing how constant and consistent his love is and what true love is and what it
mm,
isn't. Like you have to really know what love isn't in order to really fully comprehend or envelop the concept of what love really is, what it isn't, and what it is. What it isn't, it doesn't point fingers. It casts out all fears. It's perfect. God's love. It's unconditional.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Uh, I've had countless of episodes in my life where God should have counted me out,
Mhm.
and maybe even some people in the past, for that matter. In my past, I wasn't always a good guy, Steve. You know, uh, even when they said, in my opinion, when I felt I was at my worst, there were people like, "Ah, you're good. You just did some rest. Oh, yeah, you're a good person." And and what I mean by that is that I found out in moments when I didn't feel I was being a good guy. That's when I understood and started to understand, rather, the concept of agape love, real love, what
Mm.
that is. Yeah. In my lowest moments, yeah, we're riding high right now. God is paramount. And people love you. But when people can love you in at your worst, that's that's when I started to really get a deeper understanding and revelation of what love was and is and what it should be and what it isn't. Because there's times I didn't know what it truly was until God showed me through my mom, through my dad, through my daughter or whatever, or through a significant other or lover or friend, right? But I think you really have to really gather that revelation and concept and information from God. That needs to be a
Mhm.
download. And it happened in my worst. I was like, wow, you still love me? And that's where without you comes from, that type of stuff. Like, without you, I don't want to roll. I don't want to go. I can't breathe. I don't want to live, because when you really, really tap into that, into the space of that love, bro,
Mm.
it changes everything around you. It causes you to transcend
Mm.
everything,
Okay.
and your whole mindset shifts.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, it's in those ugly past moments of my life where I started to understand what true love was and like what it looked like. And like my mom, she was like, "Are you going to be stronger than you ever have before?" This is what I was going through. It's a long time ago now, but you'll never forget. She got to see me change that around and flip that around and shift that around by the grace of God. And she said, you never really judged, she never judged me, in my lowest and just say, yeah, rub my head and say, hey, right, is it over? It's over. All right. Then you get to show her the Warner Brothers thing and you see, show her the flip side. So it's like, see, I told you. See, my mom was like a prophetess, man. I'm living out prophecies that my mom and grandmothers and grannies, so that kind of love too. But I think that's she loved me from a God space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
you can't, otherwise you can't love like
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, and both of us have lost a parent. Both of us are at that one parent left, holding
yeah.
on to them too desperately some
Hmm.
days,
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
was there an element specifically in this song where your mom kind of came to mind while you were creating it?
That's a great question. And I haven't talked about this piece yet in any interviews online anywhere. Um, yeah, and there's certain lyrics that trigger, that creates triggers for certain people, and one song may mean this to another, but I think I went through an episode, like a compilation of scenarios, love scenarios where I'm thinking like, number one, God, I just, always thinking about what you think of me, what you're thinking of me all the time. But then you have this where, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm.
you do think about a significant other loved one. There was a few times in LA when I was recording this record where she popped up. you know, yeah, and yeah, you know, and you think about, but essentially, you know, it's definitely more based off of my Kingdom R&B love song to God, man. You know,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
more, yeah, it's more about that, you know. And yet, Without You has that same feel, that question, to answer your question, I definitely, and it goes without saying, we couldn't imagine me with the dedication and all, right? But Without You, I could say the same for Without You, you know. Uh, yeah, I thought about it then. You know, you see the wings. Yeah, it's with
Mm,
human trafficking. You know, that could be for adults and kids and things, whatever. It's a harsh reality that our world and our nation and country is suffering with and has suffered with for a long time. Have suffered a long time, and we just want to bring
mm,
shed light. But also in the midst of that, Without You, there was a time when my mother passed, you know, it felt unbearable for a
mm,
while. I was devastated. We were really, really like white on rice type, you know, and and then that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, okay, yeah, but I can't. Only one I really can just really say that song is for, like, Without You, is like, I was like, nah, you know, it's God I can't do without. Yeah, I miss you, mom, but life still has to go on without you.
mm.
I still
Yeah,
have to
absolutely.
live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
Couldn't Imagine was dedicated to breast cancer awareness. Without You, dedicated to human, both adult and child trafficking.
yeah.
What is Thinking dedicated to?
Thinking is really dedicated to those individuals, and we haven't even really announced that yet. But if I were to dedicate this song to anything, because it's going to be on this EP, I plan on dropping a 5-song EP around Valentine's Day or that week, or more like that week of Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day week or weekend. But I would dedicate it to those, uh, you know, military type of people, people who have to travel a lot, you know, that may have a loved one in active duty, or, you know, just on a mission for this nation or country. More like that, you know, where the wife or the husband, you know, is thinking about, you know, the one they love the
Mm,
most under God, you know, or from a kid's perspective, and, you know, but more from that space. That's more what thinking is, you know, the ones that
yeah.
that really desires to see their loved one, uh, and they're out there, you know, taking action for the country and taking a stand, and they can't quite get to them, but they're thinking about it, thinking
Mhm.
constantly. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
maybe people feeling trauma, you know, in that aspect, because it's going to trigger some. Like I say, it's gonna be a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
This record, yeah, it's gonna
And I
mean
put
a
the
lot.
yeah. And I put the link in so that people can get the single.
Thank you.
Um,
Absolutely.
and absolutely, people absolutely should. Um, a lot of times when we do these, and this is your third song in as many months, um, and
Yeah.
you make it look easy, and then you go into the studio and you day or two in the studio and boom, here's a new song, kind of a thing. Um, there's some really deep stuff that's in there, that
Mm,
has to do with visibility, with being visible and valuable, with owning who you are and then really doing it.
yeah.
And I'd like to take a couple of minutes to really talk about that whole concept of, because everybody sees you do it and then they're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm just going to throw 5 songs out on, on whatever, this week. And, next week I'll be a
Yeah.
pop star too, and it really doesn't work that way. Um,
No,
Talk to us,
no,
pull
no.
back the curtain and kind of
Yeah.
talk to us about, what does it take to take that passion that you have and then really share it with the world in a way that people are going to see it and get it versus it just sitting out on Amazon like another million other songs are out there that nobody's ever downloaded. you know.
Yeah. Let's start at that piece. It's another great question, my friend. Let's start at that piece where you just said we make it look easy. Let's deal with that real quick. Let's start there. Then pivot right back to that point. Let's revisit that. And I'm gonna unpack from there. So, yeah, we make it look easy, but there are so many things behind the scenes that we're doing outside the studio and while we're in the studio, and things, turbulence that's happening, inevitable stuff that sometimes people don't see, you know, things such as, maybe losing a loved one while you're being elevated, while God is elevating you, promoting you, and still having to be consistent. And I think it starts with the consistency, uh, in terms of being dedicated to the craft. We sing these songs gazillions of times before we ever even go in the studio. That's the thing too. And it's almost seeming like it's freestyle, but I'm freestyling it in the privacy of my home with no ink, no pen, paper, but freestyle singing it, spontaneous, right? And the way I gather that is if it comes out consistently a certain way, the same time, or at least symbiotic to the last time I tried to sing it melodically, cadence wise, then I know, okay, that's real. It's real, it comes from God, but just on a human level, right? I'm like, okay, now it becomes I'm just withdrawing out of that bank account of content, music, songs, right? And I'm like, if this is what I'm consistently singing each day, without putting oh, I'm gonna do this for 7 days and let's see how I go. No, you just know when it's organic, and there's a lot of work like that that's going on, like a lot of repetition in you creating a good habit. So there's a lot of things that people don't see. Um, Sometimes the equipment is expensive as it is. There's been times where we had to shut things down and start it back up, with top-notch state-of-the-art equipment. But we laugh at it. Of course, you don't want that to happen, but we've been there so many times, bro, where the unexpected can happen. And I would just say you can't teach passion, yet we make it look easy because this is something we're doing over and over and over, and we love doing it over and over and over because it's a passion. You can't really teach that. You really can't go in the store and buy passion or get it online. You can grow it from those sources, but I think that just being willing to I almost want to say over dedicate yourself to, yeah, like, and do it because you love it. I made a post about Kobe, not long ago, and it was just saying like people see the championships, they see the number ones, they see that, and then they see people, they see you when it's game time doing the moves that finesse the team and things, the highlight reels, right? And what they don't see is that fundamentally speaking, you're going over the same shot, same song, same thing over and over and over and over again to the point where you don't count, you lose track of time, and you become so immersed and one with the material. And in that aspect, that takes work, that takes dedication and practice. And we're always practicing to get better. So yeah, we make it look easy, but it's not always easy. But what is easy is, people look at the studio part and say, oh, that's fun to be in the studio and make music, like you say. And I want that to inspire you because anything and all things and everything is possible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's that visibility factor that you're always preaching about, and we both are advocates of that, is you have to practice visibility like anything else. You have to practice visibility, you have to practice material, and until you know it's well done. You'll know if it's medium rare. If you can sing it in your sleep, if you can sing it without thinking, speaking of thinking, right? If you can do it without thinking, you know now it's time to go lay that record down. And that's only the beginning, though. Now you need to market that thing. There's a game plan, a rollout. There's, all these different, me and Marcus Cole was talking recently, and it sounds so similar and symbiotic to some of our conversations about even, best-selling books, number one international best-selling books or whatever. Like that's just the beginning. When you drop, and that is a new milestone, those are milestones, but records don't push themselves just because you go in the studio and lay a dope record down, an awesome juice record. It's not going to push itself. You got to give it nurture. You got to nurture. It's like a baby, and you got to nurture that baby. And that though you love that baby's gonna, take you through some. You want to go through some nuance. You want to go through some, metamorphosis sometimes.
Oh
And
yeah.
just know it's a part of the process, and it's how the record incubates. And now you gotta push it. And me and Marcus was talking about, and he said the same thing that we talk about, and that is, the record really, the real push starts after the record is released. You do a little pushing beforehand. That's cool. It varies for everybody. I think that's important too, Steve. Find out what works for you, though. Like
Mhm.
I think that's the danger sometimes when we see other people doing it, and you gotta know how to be inspired by them, motivated, but yet be able to tailor make the your own process and find it out and look at you. And sometimes it's good to just shut down all the other artists and not know what the latest music is, and come from an authentic place. But that's work. You gotta practice, you know?
Yeah.
We just make then you can make it look easy. But at
Mm.
first, yeah, it's like anything else. There's gonna be some failing forward and melodies that may not work, even though you come from the heart, and you just have to listen to your heart and listen to your voice.
Oh yeah.
Find that
Well,
voice.
you and I both know that for every, thinking is, what does it say here? It's 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Is that what it's? Yeah, 3 minutes and 40
Yes, sir.
seconds.
Hmm.
Um, you know, for every 3 minutes and 40 seconds that ended up being, there is 3 or 4 years of times that you're in the closet or driving down the road in the car or whatever, and you're, riffing and rapping and singing and praising. And,
Yeah,
sometimes it's songs that and sometimes it's new stuff. And some of
yeah,
it, you're like really excited about. And then you go back and you sing it again and you're like, oh, wow, that really was weak. I mean, and it's all
yeah,
that kind of thing. The
yeah,
book
man.
Atomic Habits talks about the fact that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something, to, that there's 10,000 hours of work that, like, say, a professional athlete needs to do before they ever get to that level,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
that 10,000 hours. I love your Kobe, thing, because it's the 10,000 hours of when he was in elementary school and junior high and high school, that he was the first one on the court and the last one, and, was
yeah.
standing out there shooting hoops when,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, I even saw one, and I forget who it was. It might have been Michael Jordan. One of them was talking about how literally at one point they had somebody out there holding the flashlight on the, on the hoop, because it
Yeah,
was so dark out that they couldn't, and there was
yeah,
just a
yeah.
flashlight on the hoop, and they were, I mean, just over and over and over again. And that's, and so then, yeah, then it looks so very, very easy, when in
Yeah,
point of fact, and and in addition to that, it's the, 10 million failures that,
yeah,
were really just, I love how, Thomas Edison said, it isn't that I failed 10,000 times to make a light bulb, it's that I learned 9,999, thousand ways to be able to not
Right.
make it work so that we could get to the one that did work, and
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that's,
man.
and I think that's the core of visibility is,
Yeah.
you got to know who you really are and then keep practicing, drilling, rehearsing, doing it, so that when the spotlight comes on, you're already
Yeah.
ready. I mean, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
want to,
No doubt.
want somebody to, come and hand them a microphone when they haven't
Yeah.
practiced with. You remember when you were a kid? I know you did this, okay? Because every musician I've ever met has. You remember when you were a kid, you grabbed something and you were like, practice
Yeah.
singing to, the back of a comb or
Yeah.
whatever,
All the time.
it's
Yeah, man.
all of those hours that go
Yeah.
into the, the few seconds that
It
is
does.
what an amazing album like Thinking, comes from.
Appreciate that. Thank you, brother. I'm humbled by that. And you said yeah, a lot of gems, man, that came out of your mouth, brother. But I'll revisit one thing you said: being yourself, finding your voice. I think that finding it may be the most challenging thing for most people, but once you find it, and yeah, you practice, but you're doing it from a place of love and
Mm.
shedding, as we would call it, musician shedding. And I'm grateful for that upbringing, like you said, those 15 seconds, all the singing in the choirs, the groups, as a little boy, coming on up, playing all the instruments, and uh, that prepared us for these moments. And then you just grow in the grind, you grow in that practice, you understand, like now I'm just practicing being myself. And I think that's where the love comes in, and the appreciation and the admiration for what we do is because you love it.
Mm.
And yeah, we love empowering people, changing lives through arts, love, business, and entertainment, and music, through poetry, which we drop in that book. That's another Goodbye Past, Hello Future is coming soon. All poetry, man. And we have song lyrics of some of these songs too. And it's yeah, it's the grind, man. I think what is easy though is once you find out who you are and what works for you, it becomes easier to practice. You know what I'm saying? You're practicing more strategically and
Mhm.
with more intentionality of what you found your voice now. You found out who you are, and that might be the most difficult thing. But
Mm.
then once you find it, to me, being yourself when it's game time, to me, or in any aspect or any climate, I think that's the easy part because I don't need a script for being, at being myself.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So
Uh,
that part becomes easy or
yeah.
easier. Yeah.
And I officially give everybody permission to be yourself today. That more than anything,
Mm,
that's
yeah.
really important.
I echo that. I
Uh,
echo that. That's essential. That's what we love when we listen back. When I can listen back to a record, I'm like, yeah, that's really me. Yeah, that's
yeah.
me. Yeah,
Well, that's
and
the
I
best part. Oh
that's
yeah, that
me.
really
That's me.
is. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Do you? And this is what people probably don't really
yeah,
understand is you have all this stuff that you've done, and it's when, and you and I have talked about this one, and you can expound on it, but it's when you have a song that comes out of you, and then when you play it back, you listen it back to it, you sing it again, it touches you. You're like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
you're amazed by
yeah,
the own thing because
yeah. Yes,
something beyond you came out. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Yeah, man. There's no greater euphoria for recording artists or songwriting even, but an artist that writes a song. Like to hear it back, to hear your voice. That's a dopamine, bro. I think it's a little bit of it's a mixture or a combination of dopamine and serotonin. That you get each time, even before you release it, and then you get this extra dopamine and serotonin when you release it, because now you know something crucial. It's this is very crucial. If your record doesn't move, if it don't move you,
Mm,
don't expect it to move anybody else for real. Like, let it move you. If it can impact you, these songs, I'm my number one guinea pig or lab rat. Like I'm beta testing me. And if it can move me to tears, or it can move me and God, and I then even deeper and even more importantly, when you hear God say, "Hey, I want to hear that song. Imagine, sing it to me
mm,
or play
yeah.
it for me." That has
Oh,
happened with all of these records.
oh yeah.
So that part is inexplicable, bro. You know what
Well,
I
in fact,
mean?
I even tell
It's
people
crazy.
it's like when you do a post on social media, whether it's just a basic couple word post or you're dropping your latest song or your latest book or what have you. If you're not the first person who's liking and really hearting, really loving what you put, why should anybody else? You know what I mean? If you don't love it, why should they?
Right. Right. And then understand that you're not doing it for everybody to love you. It's like nobody's for everybody. You
Right.
know what I mean? Understand that part, that detachment of leadership, because we are so passionate about what we do sometimes, and we have a passion for helping others, and we want people to feel what we feel. And for the most part, they will. You're going to empower the right people if it impacts you. But sometimes where we mess up, Steve, is that we feel that we have to get everyone's validation and approval or co-sign something in order for it to be successful. It's like I
Mm,
have enough sense to know whether a million people or 1,000 people or 100,000 people have liked something or whatever that is. That's never going to be everybody. But guess what? Look what Jesus did for everybody. Look what God did. He sent his only begotten son, Yeshua, right?
mm,
Everybody don't appreciate him. Everybody doesn't love him. So who am I? So I'm not trying to. You find your voice, and your voice will attract the God-given, purpose-filled people that's purpose for you. And
yeah.
then the newcomers that come on, they're all aligned and assigned to you. So I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Make music for somebody, not everybody.
Yeah.
Then you
Well,
start reaching all kind of people. You know.
and I think it goes back to everything we've been talking about here with, that whole concept of your passion, your purpose, and all of that is the first person that needs to be your raving fan is you. You
Always,
know,
always.
unless maybe you want to get all spiritual on it, and say, the first person that you want to love your stuff is God, and I would definitely give you
And
that one. But
that's
you know,
first and foremost all
yeah,
the time. You know, in my world, all the time. He's the first. Like I'm beta testing with God first, and if he co-signs and said it's a go, and the heavenly hosts get around, surround him, like now that's the one. Then you know you got something. So
yeah,
this is why we're on the verge of having our third number one. And that was music, pop charts, song charts, and all that,
yeah.
you know. Because he
You got to get
breathes on it.
absolutely. Everybody's got to get thinking today. Willie
Get
J
thinking right
featuring
now.
Marcus Cole.
The
Yeah.
legendary Marcus Cole,
Mm.
the coldest, dopest vocalist in the gospel world, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah.
Hey, yeah,
Well, we
yeah.
got to talk about one more thing before I let you go. And I know we went a little longer than you and I talked about maybe going today, but we got to talk about that coat on the cover, man. Talk to
Ah,
me about that picture. That picture is just
which I'm
so
thinking,
beyond. It is just next level cool,
you
man.
talk, oh, thanks, bro. Which one you talking about? For thinking?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. What was the question again about it? You like it?
Yeah, I mean, it, okay. Those of you that are seeing Willie right now in a hoodie, I mean, this is Willie every day of the week. You see some
Yeah.
artists who
Yeah.
don't leave their house unless they're wearing way too much money in clothing and jewelry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. There's just some
Moderation right
people that are just
here.
that is totally not who Willie is.
Nah,
I
man.
mean, I've
This
even
is
seen
it.
you on stage
This
in just a hoodie
this is
and
it. This
your
is it, man.
chain. Maybe
Yeah.
you've got the beats on, maybe you don't. Depends on whether they
Yeah.
pay you or not.
Right. Now,
But
sometimes I will wear suits sometimes,
yeah, well,
but
yeah, and
but
I've
it
seen,
depends. It just
but
depends.
but that fur, that
That
white
fur,
fur on the cover
that's me, man.
is just so you and yet so over at the same time, and it is just so hype. I mean, you
Right on,
gotta. I mean,
right on.
is that something that was just in your closet? You're like, oh, now it's time to break it out, or do you have a stylist that said, oh, Willie, you got to try this, or how did that picture come about? Tell me about that. I gotta
Man,
know.
God let He orchestrated everything, man. My GPS is the Holy Spirit. I'm being real, and this is the style that I've always wanted to present when it was time, to the world, this portion of me, uh, and it kind of represents now the today and the past, today and the future, and yeah, man, went with the white. We had some pictures with a black one on too as well, but the white one just represents, you know,
Mm.
yeah, it represents, this thing that we're doing right now, this permission deal. So yeah, it's a
Well,
style, man. Yeah, you
oh,
never know.
it's
Someday
hot.
I might have one. Yeah. You might see me like on the LA Connection Comedy Theater. I had on this furry black with the black hood, and I had some people in the store the other day was, young bucks, very young. Gen Z, I believe. Is it Gen Z? Yeah,
Mm,
it's Gen Z, the younger generation. Like, where did you get that coat? I was like, hey man, what can I say? Um, God is paramount.
I love it.
Can't really tell you that. It's signature. But yeah, man. Um, so that's really what it was more of a fashion thing, and I thought it encapsulated the music, the weather we're dealing with, everything. It's like very intentional, kind of,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I just couldn't let you go without mentioning how cool the cover was.
Right
Uh,
on. I
yeah.
appreciate that, brother.
All right. Yeah, the song
Yeah.
is called "Thinking." Willie J
Go get
featuring
it
Mark
now.
Cole. It's
Go get it
available
now.
on Amazon,
Ever, yep,
Amazon Music, everywhere else. But I mean, especially
everywhere.
there. Let's let's see. I mean, we got a real challenge because without you made it to number one on the pop charts in like 3 days. So everybody needs to just go crazy today. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause we've got the
We
bar
settled
set
down. God
super
is
high.
paramount. Yeah.
The reality is that we, normally expect it to be 10 days to 2 weeks before,
Yeah.
those charts pop. And we
Yeah.
all know that, what's his name is kind of ruling that pop chart right now.
Hmm.
Oh gosh, I was going to say his name and then he jumped out of my head. Let me go over here on my other screen. I'll look it up because I know you know who I mean. Oh yeah, Bruno.
Oh,
He's been
okay.
sitting number one on new releases on the pop chart for about a week now. So, it's gotta give him a run for his money here on the
Oh
new
yeah.
release charts. And
Hey man, shout out to our supporters. It's
yeah,
God through the supporters that makes it happen for us.
yeah.
And we're grateful. I'm grateful
Do
for you
get
too, my friend.
do get thinking today, Willie. Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to have you here
Thanks for
with
having me,
us, and
brother.
we might even get together a little bit when Goodbye Past Hello Future drops. The next book too,
Cool.
but
Yeah.
right now, let's focus on thinking.
Yeah, let's
Get
focus
that.
on thinking
And
right
thanks
now.
so much
Yeah.
for being a guest with me here on the show today.
Thanks for having me, my friend. Big blessings to you, brother. God is paramount, no doubt.